Terrible.
Something slightly different today. I'm doing gins. Now, I don't know anything about gins, and Sadie from Vineyards is very passionate about gins. She's doing the cigar, which I recommend, and I'm doing the gins that she recommends. The other reason I've picked Vineyards is because they actually make their own gin. So I figured if anybody knows about it, they do. Okay, Sadie, I'm in your hands. Where are we going with this?
So we are starting off with our gin, but just a quick mention to where we're going to be going today.
Yep.
We are going to be doing what came before gin as we know it today. So ours is very much a London dry, the type of gin that people would ask for nowadays if they're going out for a drink and having a gin and tonic. We're starting in the here and now with our G for gin. We wanted to have a gin that just tasted like gin. So you should be getting the juniper on it.
Yeah, that's a very strong smell.
It is a very strong smell. When you try gin as well, and when you sample them, quite often people drink gin with a tonic, which we're going to have afterwards.
Yeah.
However, you always try it neat. Obviously, you want to do a little bit of a swirl to release the aromas. Now, what you should be getting off of it, I hope, if I've distilled it correctly, is you should be getting, we've got 3 different citruses in here.
Yeah, that is an overwhelming sense of citrus.
So
I can't pin what it is, but that's...
So we actually use dried lemon and orange peel, but then the lime that goes in is fresh, which is quite unique. And then the other thing that I should really mention is that this has double the amount of juniper than most mainstream gins.
Okay.
So it really is going to be quite punchy for a gin.
So this is going to have a kick.
It is going to have a kick. Should we have a go?
Go. Okay. I don't know what I was expecting, but the finish is quite different.
Are you getting an earthy finish?
Yeah.
There's something called the core 4 that you have in gin.
Yeah.
So you have your juniper, but you also have coriander seed, orris root, and you also have cassia bark. So it's that coriander, the cassia bark, which is like the cinnamon family.
Yeah.
You start to get those spices, and now you should be getting
it's the back of the throat.
Yeah.
It's not like the burn you get from a whiskey, though.
It isn't like the burn you get from a whiskey.
It's very, very different.
And obviously, this is just straight out of a copper still. So you should try it neat to get the flavours, but it changes ridiculously so when you add a tonic to it. What you should notice before you give it a little sip is that it's a little bit pearlised in the glass.
Oh, yeah.
When the tonic hits it, you get this almost pearlescent shimmer to it, and it's just because it's unfiltered, because we wanted to keep as much of the flavour of the botanicals in there as possible. So yeah, have a go now.
Oh wow, that's a very different drink.
Exactly.
I think I actually prefer it before.
And the difficulty that you have is that the majority of people that enjoy a gin is a gin and tonic, a G&T.
Yeah.
We always say we sample it straight. There are some gins that we drink on the rocks. I do drink ours on the rocks.
Yeah. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting that much of a change. If anything, that actually makes it more dangerous, because it's now easier to drink a lot more volume, whereas before it's much more like a whiskey where you just want to enjoy the flavours and sip it. That's like the cigars, and we'll see what we think.
Perfect.
Light the end and just slowly toast the cigar.
Away.
You don't need to hold the lighter very close. Because it's a jet lighter, you can literally hold it like 3-4 inches away and it will still light the cigar.
It smells lovely.
There you go. We're pairing these with Monte Cristo No. 3, mainly because it's a good baseline cigar. It's a medium to full-bodied smoke. It should actually develop quite nicely from what you've told me these gins will go. So hopefully it works. Now you've tried the gin, how do you find it with the cigar? Do you think it works or not work?
I'm going to have to, for quality control, take another. This is really nice. So the comparison you made with it being quite middle of the road, so to speak, in terms of a Romeo and Julieta. Yeah. Because that's what I usually have. So this is really enjoyable. They
actually do complement each other very well. I think the smokiness you get after you've had the drink, it brings another level onto the drink.
What I'm finding really, really interesting is all that we just said a moment ago about the flavours that you get on the gin neat and how that changes with the tonic. It's almost like this is taking it back to the spicier notes and pulling those out.
Yeah.
Whereas the tonic pulled out the citrus notes. So it takes it back to almost having it neat. That's bizarre. Brilliant. Why have I never tried this?
I wanted to say, people can actually mail order from you, so they can actually get the gin shipped to them.
Yeah, so we send our gin and our wine all across the UK.
And spirits.
And spirits.
What's the thing about it? So look at their website and go and order some. Where are we going next?
So we are moving over to, well, Geneva gin is the British way of pronouncing it, but Geneva is how they pronounce it in the Netherlands, obviously without the Essex accent. This is where gin came from. So this was basically the first type of alcoholic drink that was made using juniper berries for recreational uses. Traditionally, you would have what they call a tulip glass. See, it's so different.
Yeah, that's indescribably different. There's such a contrast.
The base of a usual gin, like the one we just had, is very neutral before you distill it. The base of this is rye, malted barley, and corn mash.
Actually, and the more I smell that, the nicer that's becoming.
I think this is so delicious.
Okay, I'm beginning to dislike you now. That's good. That's really, really.
So are you getting some vanilla on this?
A little bit, yeah. There's definitely, you can feel the texture of it's quite different as well. It's a much oilier drink. It's got a different mouthfeel. That's actually a lovely.
It's incredibly smooth. You are moving more towards other spirits, such as whiskey, rum, brandy. It feels different in your mouth.
Yeah.
And this is a young one, so it's called a younger Geneva, which just means young grade. So this has only been aged for under a year.
That's actually very dangerous, in a good way. I'm now very intrigued to see where we progress from here, because the next one does look much more like a light whiskey.
Wow, I'm finding that it really mellows out.
It does. It makes you take a step back and just calms everything. But I almost feel like
both. I think that they're both calming each other. That's interesting.
So it's like a proper chilled little journey it takes you on, which I think is really nice.
This has got Sunday all over it, surely.
Yeah, actually, you know what?
This is what I should be doing every Sunday from now on.
I think this is a damn good idea for a Sunday. That actually, yeah, you converted me on that one.
Excellent.
I have to admit. That's, yeah, damn. I'm going to have a new cabinet for gins now.
Yeah, this is the stuff. So if you know the phrase, having a bit of Dutch courage, during the 30 Years' War, when the Brits went over and helped out the Dutch, their tipple of choice was a Geneva. So out of the two that we're going to be having, that's my favourite. Because it just hits that spot for me. It's just incredibly smooth. It's got enough of a punch for me, as a step away from what a traditional gin would be. The next one, I'm going to be interested to see how it goes with the cigar, and if the same kind of interplay happens again.
Moving on to the next one then.
Right. So this is the same distillery. So this is from the Sweedam distillery, and this one's a Oude Geneva, which means old. This is American oak, this one. You can get them in Oloroso, you can get them in port sherry. They're starting to play around with the casks, as you would do with whiskey, as you would do with wine. This gets compared to, when people are describing old Genevas, they say that it's like a mashup between gin and whiskey.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see what you think about that.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah. Oh, that's a lot. I want to say it's lighter and almost fruitier on the palate, on the nose, rather.
For me, it might take me to the realms of almost like a Highlands whiskey or like an Irish whiskey, because I'm starting to get those vanilla and caramel notes.
Definitely a sweetness there. Okay. That's not what I was expecting. It's not as oily as the first one.
It's incredibly elegant, and that's the 3 years in the oak barrel. How are you finding it with the cigar?
Having the cigar and then trying that's a lot different.
In a good way?
Yeah, it's really nice. I think, though, I'll agree with you. I think the other one so far is definitely my favourite.
in my mind, we were going to be getting more of a punch than we actually ended up getting, which is interesting.
Very gentle sort of, this is a very mellow journey.
So this one's called Dutch Courage. Got a bit of colour on this one. So if you see an Old Tom gin, you know that it's going to be sweeter. And why I like Old Tom gins is because they're great for cocktails. Yeah. What's a bit different about this one, and we pulled this one out especially for you, is because this one is not only an Old Tom gin, but it's aged in American oak as well. And
right, which is what's giving it the colour.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you're a whiskey drinker and we didn't want to be too mean to you today.
Really?
We thought we'll bring out the one that's got the cask aging as well.
It's interesting. I can definitely get the juniper off that straight away. That's so much stronger than the previous two.
We're back to the original juniper scent, aren't we?
Actually I quite like that. That's actually really...
But you can see, look at that. You can see the alcohol and the sugar.
You can see how oily that drink is. That's
on
amazing,
the glass,
and
that's what clings to the edge of the glass.
That's what I like to see in a whiskey glass.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's going to have a long finish because you can see the oil. So you wouldn't normally put a tonic in this. You'd have this one neat.
So no, you can have a tonic with it. The majority of people will drink this with a tonic. Most people in trade and in industry just have it on the rocks.
Oh, actually, that balances very well with the cigar. That's an amazing combination. Well, thanks, Sadie. That's been actually an amazing journey.
I would say, after your your inaugural gin experience, that I would feel confident in saying that you are an old school heritage gin lover at heart.
Yeah.
But the modern day London dries, maybe take it or leave it.
Yeah, I think so. I think
more so leave it.
Yeah, more so leave it if I'm honest. But wow, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.